like the last year or so of my life, I realized that God's going to give me every experience I ever want to have. And all I need to do is show up and be ready to experience them. Hey guys, and welcome back to another Limitless Conversation. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you. Let me tell you guys. You guys may see an episode before this because there was at least one that came out good. But actually, let me introduce the thing because I'm about to just start rolling in, child. Rolling on in. So I will start this episode by saying, welcome to the podcast. On this podcast, we talk about how to be our best limitless selves, looking through the illusions of our limited selves and what the world wants us to think that we're limited, and understanding that we are capable of doing any and everything. And I am excited to be here with you guys and to be chatting with you all. I have filmed every Tuesday for the last month and a half, and I have one episode to show for that. And why do I have one episode to show for that? Well, let me tell you guys, because God was still working on me. I was thinking it was because the audio was off and whatever, but I was watching the episodes back and I just wasn't getting the feelings. When I watched back my first season, as much as like I'm like, damn, I was really putting all in my business. I was really sharing a lot. To expose myself in that way so much, I really wanted to draw it back. I really wanted to tell you guys the things that I was getting without telling you guys everything that was happening in my life. And it's not that it's even like these crazy things that are happening. It's more so at the end of the day, like when I'm out and I'm meeting people and they're like, well, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I have a podcast. Like, if this is a guy trying to date me, let's just be honest, this is a guy trying to date me, I don't necessarily want him knowing all of this business. Like, he could know this after we get to know each other, but I'm not trying to give him the cheat codes on me. You know, I'm not trying to give him the answers away. But so when I came back to film season 2, I wanted to share these beautiful revelations that I was having, but the episodes were like 15 minutes long because I wasn't sharing the story. I wasn't sharing the part that made these conversations so personal. To me, the parts that made season 1, when I look back on it, so special, so for me impactful, because the stories are what bring me to these revelations. And if I don't share the stories, then does the revelation have the same impact? Is it as relatable? Is it as understandable? Does it make as much sense? Because the story is what gives it context. The story is what brings it more full circle. And so here I am opening up and allowing myself to be seen and to be vulnerable and to share. And I am still going to navigate through how to keep certain things and certain parts of it private, because some parts are just for me. But I don't want to not share a story because I don't want everyone to know everything. There's power in my story. There's power in my experiences, and they're beautiful. And so all this time I had filmed all these episodes and thought that I didn't like them because of the audio or because of the video or because of all these other things. But I realized as I was watching season, something just told me this morning, go back and watch season 1. Because like I said, as vulnerable as I felt, I still watch those episodes back and feel how powerful those moments were for me. So when I was watching back, I think I watched the episode about if you guys haven't watched season 1, you really should. I watched the episode, the finale, episode 8, about reinventing. I watched the episode about the power of now, like, that is in the present moment. And I watched half of that episode to my yoga this morning. Is that vain? I don't care. It's my truth. So I watched those episodes back, and I realized that was what was missing. I was very vulnerable and very candid in those moments, and I was going through a very vulnerable time. And so this space that I'm in now for season 2, I am in a different space. I am a lot happier. I am a lot more stable. I am feeling a lot better. And so the stories may be a little different. And my approach to these conversations will definitely be different because I'm like I said in the last season, I told you guys we're gonna be moving in a healed version. So um, my perspectives and how I navigate some of these spaces are a little bit different. Um, but I realize that I'm not gonna try to hide my experiences or not tell the stories and be in faux the culture of trying to just put happiness over top of everything. Because while I do acknowledge that happiness is the way, like, being in the seeing things positively and having those outlooks are the best way to live, I acknowledge that there are moments where I may not be in that space. And if I'm not in that space, I have to be authentic to that. So, yeah, that was my revelation this morning. That was the story. And so, like, there's some gems from these episodes that I recorded. There were these moments, but what can I say? What can I say? It'll come back up if it's meant to be spoken about. And maybe I'll even take some of the clips and still put them on TikTok. So follow me on TikTok if you're not, because I mean there were some really impactful moments in that. But let's start off this season with the catch up. What's been going on? Where have I been? What have I been up to? How am I feeling? What's going on in my life? Let's just jump right into it. So, having watched those other episodes, where we left off was I was moving into my new space. Well, as you guys may or may not be able to tell, we did it, Joe. We're in our new space. We're in our new space. I've been here for quite a bit now. Like I think I'm like halfway through my lease at this point, and I am feeling a lot more stable. I am feeling a lot more grounded. Okay, it was nothing but God's plan that got me into my first apartment. Nothing but God's work because there was absolutely no reason I should have gotten that thing. Um, but I needed it. And like I talked about in the episode, I needed it for my mental. And it wasn't like, you could have the perspective of like, I did what I needed to do. I did what I needed. I needed somewhere that I would feel comfortable. This was my first time moving out. I wanted to be in an environment where I felt safe, a community where I felt safe. I don't do bugs. I do not do a bug. Ooh, can't do it, won't do it. Okay, so I needed to be somewhere that was clean. I needed all of those things to feel comfortable being out on my own for the first time. And so that was totally, totally God's plan on how that all worked out. And I had to change my perspective when it was time to shift. I won't say when things didn't stop working out. When it was time to shift, I had to change my perspective of that situation and see that even though I'm like, well, God, why would you give this to me if I couldn't sustain it? Well, it was a blessing because it was really what I needed considering what I was going through at the time. But when I was in that place, I was not working full time. I was only doing branding, which was a new thing that I was doing. So I did have clients. That was going well, but it wasn't something that was consistent enough to sustain me, right? So now I am working full time. Like I am working full time now. I have stable income coming in, and that has helped me a lot with feeling a lot more grounded. Um, I'm also working with God on how to do the thing that keeps me stable today and also works towards my future. This is something that my therapist told me last time I was in therapy. I don't know if I shared it on the podcast or not, but she was talking to me about, hey, Sean, I get that you have these dreams and you think these things you want to do, but you have to also think about what Sean of today needs, not just Sean of the future, and while planning for Sean of the future, right? So, what does Sean today need? And then, how can you also navigate and work towards your future? Because I like to be very all or nothing. I can be very all or nothing. Like, we're gonna go take it to the moon, take it to the moon, take it to the stars. How many people you know could take it this far? Like, that's me. So it was like I went a full throttle, chase my dreams, and that's it. I didn't understand the balance. And so when my therapist broke that down to me, I started to realize, okay, Sean, you just have to have a little bit of balance. Um, Working for someone else or working a job is not going to take your soul away, right? You can still do that while also working your job. But let me tell you guys about that process. So first I started off working. Like I was working like 40, 50 hours a week. I was working all the time, right? Because I had gone through this period of not working at all. So now it's like I'm remembering, oh, not working, but you know what I mean, not having consistent money come in. So then I got to a point where I'm like, oh, this is consistent money. Oh, I remember how much I like it. I like to have money. You know, I got used to like how I was navigating and moving in that space. So now I'm like, oh, I remember I love having money. I can do this. I can go out, whatever. So I was working a lot. I would say I was overworking because it was a period that I was in and supposed to be in. So I was working a lot. All right. And so that was great. But then I was like, you know, I'm not doing anything for Sean long term. What does Sean long term want? You know, and I kind of went about like, what do I see for myself? Who do I see myself being? Um, the podcast is obviously a huge part of that, right? And there's other things I want to do. I'm just seeing if I want to go into it. But what I'll at least say for now is podcasting, being impactful is important for me. I have different ways that I want to express that, and the podcast is one of them. And so I was working like 6 days a week with 1 day off. And I was like, that's a lot of days to work. It was great when it was a time because and the reason I say it had a period was because I needed to do that to even get this apartment that I have now. I needed that income to put down. I didn't know why I was working so much. I just knew I felt like I wanted to, and I just followed that desire of mine. But now saying, oh, I needed that money to put it down, to put what is it called? You know, your whatever you put. What is it called when you put down? You know, when you rent a place, you put down your deposit. That's what the word I'm looking for. I needed it for a deposit to put down, right? I needed it for moving fees and packing fees and all of that. So that period of time, honorable, needed it, right? Once I got moved in, I was still kind of on that same schedule. Then I started to realize, okay, I want a social life. I feel like I'm working a lot, and when my friends want to hang out with me, like I'm like, well, you got this one day I can hang out, you know, and then I still wanted a day for myself. Like I wanted a self-care day. So I still want a self-care day. How am I going to navigate all of this? And so I said, you know what? I started talking to God about it. God's like, okay, take another day off. So I'm like, okay. So now I go from working 6 days a week to now I'm working 5 days a week. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to take off the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays. So that continues to be my schedule for some time. Saturdays and Sundays only. I'm off and I'm driving. You know, I'm working the other days. So now that I've integrated a social life and introduced fun and enjoyment and play back into my life, it's now time to figure out what does Sean for the future want, or to figure out how to integrate it. Not to figure out what it is, 'cause I already know what I want, right? How to integrate it. So now it's time for that part. So I'm like, okay, all right, God, I need a day for filming. I need a day for filming. Yeah, I need that. I need a whole day dedicated to it. I can edit on those days. I need a day to plan for my future. So God's like, all right, take another day off. Now, the 2 days off was already good. Now I'm like, what you mean take another day off? How am I going to still pay my bills, God? I'm not trying to go back to where I was. Been there, did that, could write a book about it. I don't want to go back there, God. So the huge trust exercise with God. What I realized, well, God told me to do it. God said, take off Tuesdays. I'm like, okay. And when I say that God tells me to do things, we all have this. Let me just say we all have this ability to speak to God, to work with God, talk with Spirit, Universe, Allah, whomever you believe in. We all have the ability to plug into source information, right? Whatever your source is, we all have the ability to plug into it. And it's not how a lot of us imagine this, seeing it in the movies, right? It's this inkling that you get. It's this feeling that you get. It's this reassurance that you get. It's this message that you get. It's that it comes in really, really practical ways. So I remember I was on the road on Tuesday, and Tuesday was just really slow. And I was like, this is why I don't want to drive Tuesdays, because Tuesdays are just so slow. It's so slow at work. I don't want to drive that day. I don't want to work that day. And I remember it being like, you know what, it was a spark of an idea. This would be a great day to be my filming day. I already feel like it's a waste of time to be working. It's like I'm working. It's not I'm working harder and not smarter. So this should be the day that I film. God told me I support it. If you want to do it, I got you. So I'm like, you got me? Like, how we gonna navigate this? How we gonna push this? I had to trust God. Faith is doing things even when you don't know how it's gonna work. I'm like, all right, God, we got it real comfortable when I'm working this many days. But even though it's comfortable, it's uncomfortable because I'm feeling overworked. I'm not enjoying my life. I'm not planning for my future. You know, it's not efficient for me. So even though it's in my mind a more comfortable situation, it's not more comfortable for me long term. It's not sustainable long term. And so God's like, don't worry, I'll bless you more on other days, but you have to trust me. And I'm like, okay. So I started to do that, right? I did it the first week. And God's funny because sometimes it be at the very last moment that God will bless me. Like, that's why honestly I love what I do because it really, like, I drive Uber, if you guys don't know that. I love what I do because I get to see God all through it. Because the way that I sometimes just get these random, really great tips, it's nothing but God. Because this could be on things where I do or don't interact with people at all. Like the person could not even interact with me and end up leaving me a great tip. For what? You know what I mean? For what besides the fact that it's just God and it's just my essence and it's just the energy that I'm tuned in and tapped into. So I remember like weeks when I've done it where I trusted God, took off, didn't know how God was going to allow me to still hit my goals. And then out of nowhere, there's this just miraculous, beautiful, huge tip or a few really, really good tips that bring me to my goal that don't even make sense to anyone else outside of me and God. So that has been my journey with finding my stability in God, finding how to navigate this thing and have balance. You know, working for Shauna today, who needs her bills paid, who needs her own space, okay, who needs to enjoy life, who needs to have fun, and there's other things that I'm integrating as well. You know, like, you know, God, I might want to travel more, or I might want to do this. And then the question with God now for me becomes, God, this is what I want to experience. How can we do it? I'm not looking at it um, in terms of feeling like anything is impossible. Like, I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know, but I'm working this and I need time for this. I don't, God told me, and I'm probably going to say this a lot because it's been a huge mind shifter for me. God told me, stop bringing me your obstacles and start asking me how. Start asking me how. That's it. Don't bring me the you can't, I can't, we can't, da 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 da. All of your, don't bring me none of your obstacles. Just ask me how to do it. So when I'm sharing this journey of my stability because everything that I did was aligned as I was doing it. And when it no longer felt good to me, when it no longer gave me that same spark or feeling that it used to give me, I then have to ask, so God, what is next? Or that not feeling good experience has created a new idea, something I want to experience. Like, okay, great, it was great to be driving all the time and making all of that money. But now I want to bring back my social life. Now I want to get back to getting cute, because y'all know I love to get cute. I want to bring back getting cute and getting dressed up and going out, you know? And I'm sorry, because something's coming up, and I'm like, you want me to talk about that? I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. Give me a moment for this. Yeah, I was like, I want to get cute. I want to get dressed up and things like that. I don't know. I don't know why God wants me to go there. Hmm. I'm fighting God on this. I ain't gonna lie. Okay. Okay. Um. So. um. What I'm gonna start by saying is that we're pivoting the message a little bit, and I am really fighting God on this. But my whole thing was like I wanted to get cute and I wanted to get dressed up. And at the time, I was dating somebody, and I think God making me go into this. God's making me go into this because I kind of wanted this to be something separate, and I didn't want to present it in this way. But I'm really trying to not be in my head and just be obedient. And I'll tell you guys why I'm struggling with this, because it's not just a story about me. Like it's a story that involves someone else, and it's someone that I care dearly about. It's someone who I know is going to hear this and watch it probably. So if you guys are watching me navigate out of it's not even a disrespectful thing, but just like it's just not just me involved. So that's why. But anyway, at the time when I was going through my I want to go out now, I want to do things phase, I was dating someone, and the person that I was dating, I started to like put all this pressure on him to give me that desire that I want. Like, give me a reason to dress up. Give me a reason to go out. Do this for me. And I was putting this pressure on him. I was out here trying to make fetch happen. And one of the things that God told me is to just trust in God to bring me the experiences that I want. And I wasn't in those moments. I'm not gonna go because it's not coming to me to go a lot into this point. But the point that's being made here is, in this scenario, was in that phase of me wanting to go, I wanted to dress up. I was dating somebody, and I was trying to, and this was my desire that I had. But I didn't give God my desire. I didn't give the universe my desire. I didn't let my desire go. I held on to my desire, and I tried to go out and make the desire happen. So what did I do? The person I was dating, I put a lot of pressure on him to make this desire happen. I put a lot of pressure on him to make it happen. And it didn't feel good to do it. It didn't feel good to do it, because it wasn't his responsibility at the end of the day. And it wasn't even my responsibility to try to make it happen. My only responsibility was to tell God that this is what I wanted and allow for God to bring that experience into my life. So, eventually I did. Eventually I did. Eventually I let it go and allowed. And I had moments where I still wouldn't let it go. Like, I had moments where I would go back to what I was doing. But when I did let it go, a few things happened. He started to show up a lot more when I stopped trying to force it to happen so much. And also, like, my friendships and then my friendship dynamics, we started to go out and have reasons to get dressed up and to get cute. And so I got the desire, and it didn't have to be at my own will. A big thing for me lately has been that things don't have to be at my will. I just have to trust God in the process. I have to show up the way that I was told to show up, and then I have to just trust God. Even with this podcast, like, it took me so long to finally get these episodes up because I just felt not ready. I just felt not prepared. And it's like, I only asked you to show up. I'm about to get, I don't know why I'm about to get teary a little bit. I only asked you to show up and do what I asked you to do. I gave you a mission. I gave you a purpose. I gave you something to do. And I just need you to fulfill that. And I need you to give the rest to me. Resting in my feminine energy has been so much of that too. Like, just being obedient and allowing God to be God. Being obedient and allowing the universe to do its thing. Being obedient and finding peace in the fact that I knew that I was obedient. And because I was obedient, I know everything will work out. And if I wasn't obedient, everything will still work out because me not being obedient was in the plan as well. And even if it wasn't in the plan, I'll be forgiven. I'm already did not. I don't even need forgiveness, but if I did, I'm already forgiven for it. Um, so taking my my force, like my desire to control things or make things happen, has been really really big for me. Um, I don't need to make things happen because there are sources and things outside of me. Meaning, like energetically, I plug into sources. Energetically, I like when I'm just happy and enjoy. I am aligning with the things that will bring me more and more happiness and joy. When I can rest in when I can find joy in the moment of where I am, when I can find peace, when I am just in acceptance, everything else flows with ease because the universe responds. God responds to your obedience. The universe responds to your energy. However you perceive the message, I perceive it both ways a lot of times, just depending on where I am. Um, when you are just appreciative and happy with where you are, being present, and then also when it is time to move, moving, everything else will flow. You don't have to go out and be a doer and a maker of things. It doesn't mean you don't show up. Like right now, I said the podcast, I'm sitting, I'm filming, I'm showing up, right? But in this moment and in this chapter, I don't need to be the person determining how it's going to get out and how it's going to do all of these things. And that's God's work. You know what I mean? Like, I sat in, I want to go out. I prepared to go out, right? Got my cute outfits. I prepared and allowed God to bring me in the opportunities for me going out, having fun, and experiencing life. Like the last year or so of my life, I realized that God's going to give me every experience I ever want to have. And all I need to do is show up and be ready to experience them. Be the person that can experience the things. So, um, yeah. Yeah, so I'm at a place where I'm feeling a lot more stable. And my stability isn't necessarily from the job, it isn't necessarily from anything besides the fact that I know that no matter whatever step I take, as long as I am moving, period. 'Cause I was gonna say as long as I'm moving in the right in the line direction, but the thing is sometimes you don't even know that things are aligned until after you've already done them. Sometimes they feel like wrong steps. Sometimes you feel like you fucked up. Sometimes you feel like you're actually doing the right thing and you just don't know. You just don't know. But the only thing that I do know is that wherever I'm going and whatever I'm doing, it's all aligned with where I am supposed to be. And I know that I will be okay wherever I am. I know that I will have peace in my spirit and my mind wherever I am and with whatever happens. And whenever I acknowledge and remember that, there's always a level of comfort that is brought to me to navigate life. So the stability that I feel now comes from me knowing, having gone through things and coming out of it, knowing that no matter what I go through, I always come out of it. No matter what you've gone through, you're always victorious and you're always winning and you're always succeeding because you're continuing forward. So that's my life update. um, so here we are. Welcome to season 2. Um, this will probably end up being the first episode. So the other episode will be number 2, which will be with me and my mom, which is a really, really good episode. I'm excited for you guys to watch it. It's lengthy, long. But I do want to close out every episode with, and I just want to say that it's also beautiful that I even filmed all those episodes that never went live because it's helped me to structure the show. Like God has been like, just practice, just do the thing, just show up when it's time. It'll come out perfectly when it's the right episode. It'll come out perfectly. Like this episode feels perfect. This episode feels perfect because it was just the right time. And it doesn't mean that the other episodes that I filmed were not at the right time. It was exactly what I was supposed to do because it helped me to gain structure, helped me see what I wanted to bring back, what I wanted to add in, and what I wanted to build in. So as you guys are watching this season, you're going to watch me plug and pull probably different things because I'm just figuring out how I want this thing to all roll. And I know you guys are going to roll with me on it. So what I do want to close out every episode with is how am I deciding to be limitless, or how are we deciding to be limitless today? Still don't have guests, they'll answer as well, but it's just me today. It's a solo episode. So how am I deciding to be limitless? I am deciding to be limitless in trusting the process, trusting that everything is always working as it should be, and I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I am supposed to do, and you are exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you are supposed to be doing. There's no such thing as a wrong step. A wrong step is limited thinking. You can never take a wrong step. It is always the right step. It is always a step forward, no matter how you feel. Um, hmm. I'm trying to recall some time close my eyes for a moment. I was praying to God the other day on being a better friend and how to navigate, like, if I feel like someone's taking a wrong step, and how to not be judgmental, or how to be a supportive friend. Like, just because I know that I've taken steps that I thought was wrong, or other people could have thought were wrong, but I needed to go through them, because maybe they were or weren't wrong for me. So I was praying to God, like, how do I just be a more supportive friend? And God told me that you have to stop thinking that people are taking a wrong step. Every step that people are taking is always bringing them closer to me. Because even if they're taking a wrong step, it is showing them that this is not something that they want to experience, which is going to bring them closer to me, which is bringing them closer to their truth. And if they take a right step, air quotes around right and wrong, because those are also words that I'm eliminating from my vocabulary, but I'm using this for the sake of this moment. But um, even if they are taking a right step, it's showing them that they like this and want to continue doing this. It's bringing, like, there's no such thing as going further away. There's no such thing as not being with me and not being present. So the idea that there's a wrong step is limited. So just know that wherever you are and whatever you're doing is always the right step. It's always exactly what you're supposed to be doing. It's all part of the storyline, right? Character development. What they were saying on TikTok, like, I'm just doing it for the plot. I'm just doing it for the plot. Like, I just did some things for the plot, child, and it was a time to be had when when I was doing it, and that's okay. So yes. Anyway, as always, you guys can follow me on all my social media. It is all at Authentically Sean. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. If you did, don't forget to rate it wherever you are listening to this podcast. I would really, really appreciate that. And come back next week because there'll be more. Okay? All right. I love you guys. Bye.